considering that Pakistan wants the Afghan Taliban to take action against the TTP, if you view it from their ideological lens, it's almost tantamount to think that the Afghan Taliban, you're asking the Afghan Taliban to take action against themselves. If Afghanistan does not have any problem with the rest of the countries, why is it having problems with Pakistan? If anybody thinks that there's going to be any kind of reset with the Taliban, that's not going to happen. So in terms of Istanbul, it's first important to understand actually what led to the Istanbul talks and how this problem seems to be unending, and at this point as we're speaking, it actually has a lot of uncertainties attached to it. Firstly, Pakistan, which has been consistently attacked by non-state actors, despite the fact that the attacks are taking place within Pakistan's territory. The Afghans claim, with the leadership being in Afghanistan, the Afghans have consistently claimed that they cannot be responsible for Pakistan's internal security, and they cannot allow Pakistan to carry out, counter-terrorism operation on Afghan soil because it's against their integrity as well as sovereignty. But Pakistan has actually asked the Afghan Taliban consistently also that we can form a joint security mechanism through which we can enact, or either you take action unilaterally against them and we will provide the intelligence as well as the resources if it is required. And so this has been something that's been going on since 2021, since the Taliban came into power in August 15. But what we do see is that slowly and gradually the casualty numbers from the Pakistani sides have been increasing, and there have been days that we had almost like more than 40 fatalities a day in Pakistan, majority of them being security forces. Even statistically, if you look at it this time, 73% of the total casualties actually surmount to the security forces till November this year, which is a large number. And if you look around, usually there is the question that's been asked that, if Afghanistan does not have any problem with the rest of the countries, why is it having problems with Pakistan? I've just explained the historical baggage that this area carries. But secondly, which are the countries actually picking up the bodies of 30 or 40 of their security forces on daily basis? Rather, there is no country in the world at this particular point that is in an active insurgency, that it's fighting an active insurgency, and it's actually picking up the bodies of so many of its security forces. But nevertheless, this escalated. Pakistan carried out, attacks in Afghan territory, which the government has not officially acknowledged, but we do know that it did happen, and due to which the Afghans have retaliated on the border, targeting Pakistani security personnel. And then within this proximity, we've seen, the talks, first Qatar mediating, and then Turkey joining in, and then the first round of talks, and then the second round of talks, and then the third round of talks. The future of the talks in terms of its uncertainties, I don't think that it is expected, or one should rather expect, that the Afghan Taliban would actually take, any action against the TTP. It just doesn't fall into their ideological pattern. And considering that Pakistan wants the Afghan Taliban to take action against the TTP, if you view it from their ideological lens, it's almost tantamount to think that the Afghan Taliban, you're asking the Afghan Taliban to take action against themselves. So it's never going to happen. What's the future of the relationship between Pakistan and Afghanistan? I honestly think that it will be sort of a relationship that will not be smooth. And if anybody thinks that there's going to be any kind of reset with the Taliban, that's not going to happen. But one of the biggest problems that Pakistan is going to face is how it differentiates between the Afghan people and the Taliban governance system on dealing with it. And that's the leverage that Pakistan would like to have, that it would like to keep the Afghan people to think that Pakistan is not against them but the Taliban regime itself. And I think dealing with it in that way would cause several governance issues as well as policy measures that will need to be adopted in the near future. But for now, I think that the future remains uncertain, despite the fact that we've seen Qatar and Turkey, as intermediaries. The Afghan delegation, as we are speaking, even after the Pakistani delegation left Turkey, is still in Turkey, who's trying to convince them to create some kind of joint mechanism with Pakistan. And we've seen that in Azerbaijan, President Erdogan of Turkey, he's actually spoken to the Pakistani Premier Shehbaz Sharif earlier in the day as well, to tell him that they should continue to talk. And I think anybody who's a counter-terrorism expert and who understands the region would stress that the talking needs to take place. But Pakistan's expectation from the Afghan Taliban should actually be bare minimal, because I think that these relationships need to go on a complete reset in which real priorities need to be established rather than an expectation from a group or people who Pakistan thinks that it has actually nurtured and helped out in tough times. I think that argument is no longer working. But the spoiler will always be the more proxy warfare style relationship that India has tried to build in Afghanistan. And I honestly think that at some point in the next 2 years, I see the global support for the Afghan Taliban dwindling down, because there will be problems, as I see it, Afghanistan becoming a proxy warfare zone for major power and stakeholders, and once again Afghan soil being used by for different global agendas.